Good afternoon all, I hope you're well. So I realise I've not done a video update for quite some time, and my apologies for that. I've been really busy over the last couple of months preparing for all these court dates, doing pre-action protocol legal action. I've been moving universities, I have of course been working on the White Indigenous Rights Alliance, and I've got a number of personal justice campaigns that are currently active. Some of them have reached successful conclusions this year, which I'm very happy about, and I'll probably talk about them in more detail in a later video, because today I want to talk about my recent trip to Rome. So after all this hard work, I thought I deserve a break, and I usually go away for a few days over the summer solstice, as it's the same time as my birthday, and I've really wanted to go to Rome for quite some time. I was supposed to go back in 2019, but I came down with some mystery illness that knocked me for six for a number of months back in 2019. And then of course in 2020 we had the pandemic and all that COVID nonsense. And that had been carrying on for quite some time. Italy actually only dropped its restrictions at the end of May, beginning of June of this year. And that's when I decided I am going to go. I'm going to go see the Colosseum. I'm going to go see all this great Baroque artwork. I'm going to go to Palatine Hill. I'm going to go see the Pantheon. I'll go see the Roman Forum. There's just so much there to see. And I decided that, you know, it was short notice. I would just go there alone. And anyway, it was a great trip. I did all the things that I would wanted to do. I ate gelato on the Spanish Steps. I ate great Italian food. I saw all the great historical monuments that I wanted to. I even went to a spa while I was there because my ankle swelled up. There was a bit of a taxi strike going on, so getting taxis was much more difficult than what was expected. So all the walking that I did over the 7 hills of Rome was quite harsh on my ankles, so I decided to give myself an afternoon off in the spa at one point as well. But anyway, it was quite a normal and lovely normal tourist trip, and I had no issues with the airport going out, as much as the media has made it out to be complete chaos in the airports. Everybody that I spoke to, nobody had had any issues, nowhere near what the media has been making it out to be, the sort of hell on earth queues where you're waiting for 3 hours just to get through security. Not a single person I spoke to had experienced that. Coming back through Rome Airport, it was a little bit chaotic, as all of the security area for all of the terminals is all together and people kind of get funneled into that. But apart from that, it was uneventful. The flight left a little bit late. We landed back in England, and I thought, yes, I'm finally back home. I can get back to my legal documents, because I needed to file some final documents by Monday of this week. That's why the updates come a little bit late. As I said, I would do an update on what happened when I was coming back from Rome. So I was going through passport control at the airport here in England, and I've gone through the scan, and then, you know, it puts you in that electronic holding pen, and you have a camera with facial recognition system scans you. And I've gone through that, no issues. And then there's a little cabin with a woman that's sat in there, and you go and hand your passport to her, and she scans it. And she scans my passport, and she looks at her computer, looks at me, and asks me, what was your purpose for your visit in Rome? And I'm like, well, I'm there as a tourist. I wanted to go see the Colosseum. I wanted to go absorb some of the great history, heritage and culture that Rome has to offer. And she frowns at me, looks back at the screen and says, you're going to have to go sit over there, and points at these black chairs. And I'm like, okay. And then she wanders off with my passport. So I'm sat on these black chairs thinking, I wonder what the issue is. Could it be, you know, a problem with my passport? And I'm thinking, no, it's in good condition, that passport. I can't see what the issue would be with that. And I've left the country with it previously with no problems. And I was thinking, do you think I'm a drug mule? You know, because I went alone. And then it came to me, and I should have had the foresight to realise this, because I know that counter-terrorism, borders and ports have different rules to our domestic police. So it struck me then. I thought, oh, it could be counter-terrorism, because they wouldn't have enough evidence on domestic soil, because I'm not a bloody terrorist. I'm not even political opposition. All I do is engage in litigation and try and study and go about my own life. I don't see what their issue is, but we all know that you're not really allowed to voice the wrong opinions these days without being deemed an extremist. So anyway, I was sat there on these black chairs, and I'm thinking, it might be them. And these two gentlemen are going past in suits, and they're taking a good look at me, and I said, excuse me, could you tell me what's going on and how long this is going to take? And they've said, yeah, you just wait there. So I'm like, this isn't looking good. A few minutes later, these two gentlemen in suits come walking over to me. They're like, you come with us. I'm like, who are you? And they say, we're counter-terrorism. I'm like, of course you are. So I've gone with them into this small interrogation room. There's a table with 2 chairs on one side and 1 chair on the other. I've sat on the side with 1 chair, and these are of course bolted down to the floor. And I asked them if I was being detained, and they have a different definition of detention to what I do. You see, I wasn't free to leave. I wasn't free to leave, otherwise they could make me stay with force, but I wasn't classed as being detained, because then I'd have to be cautioned, put in handcuffs and all that sort of nonsense. So even though I felt that being, not allowed to leave and being detained within a room did class as detention, apparently legally it does not. So this being a new environment for me, I wanted to know what my legal rights were and what their obligations were before proceeding. And they said that they needed to search me as well. So they sent in 2 women and I said, do I need to strip? And they've said, no, they've just done their pat down, they've searched my luggage, everything was all fine with that, of course. And then these 2 gentlemen have come back in and they've given me this information leaflet. I'll bring it closer to the camera so you can have a look. So this is all about Schedule 7 of the Terrorism Act and your rights within it. And I asked some questions after reading it about legal advice and my rights to remain silent and what happens if I don't give you access to my devices. And it was very clear that unlike with our domestic police, you don't have a right to remain silent. If I wasn't compliant about my devices, I could be fined or given a prison sentence. More likely I'd be fined like Paul Golding was. But then they'd seize my devices anyway, send it off to the lab, and it could take 6 to 12 months to crack, and then I would have to wait for my devices for that length of time, or I could just comply, answer their questions, give them access to my devices. And I said to them, look, I've got important court dates coming up, important phone calls that need to be made. I want these devices back as soon as possible, because I know that once they've got a code with a paraben stick, they can get this information off within a few hours. So anyway, I've answered their questioning, which was more like, why did you go to Rome? What were you doing in Rome? Why were you in Rome alone? Did you meet anybody in Rome? Did you go out of Rome at any time? But, from my analysis of the situation, it wasn't so much about my visit to Rome. I think the Home Office just flag anybody who is classed as political opposition to have their devices seized at the border to see if there's anything on there that they might be able to persecute me for. I mean, I wasn't too worried about my devices. I don't download ridiculous things, but we do know that entrapment does happen against certain nationalists. So I wasn't too pleased about it. It was a massive inconvenience. But I gave them access and I answered their questions, and I was on my way within an hour or so. And I told them that I thought it was ridiculous, and if they spent more time, actually hunting down real terrorists like Salman Abedi, who blew up kids in a concert in Manchester, and they said they didn't have enough resources to watch this gentleman, they weren't wasting resources harassing people like myself, then maybe they might be able to stop real terrorists. But, anyway. I ended up getting my devices back 48 hours later. They sent me an email, and I went over to the airport and I met them outside one of the terminals, well, just down the side where there was this bus area, and I got my devices back. But I just want to make other nationalists aware that if you do leave the country, it is a possibility that under this Schedule 7 that you may be detained and questioned and your devices may be seized. You do not really have any way of getting around your devices being taken. So if you do not want your main phones being seized because of the inconvenience of it, I would say don't take them away on holiday with you. Don't take them abroad, because you might lose them for up to 7 days, possibly longer if they find something they think is suspicious on there. So when you do go away, be aware that borders and ports may detain you to give you a rigorous questioning about your activities on holiday and to seize your devices, because if it's happened to me, it can certainly happen to any one of you. But I thought I'd give you the story of what happened there, and tomorrow I'm hoping that I'm going to get enough time to give you a brief update as to what's been going on over the last few months, because I'm in court on Thursday for my case against the university for the discrimination against white students. So I will certainly have an update after Thursday for you guys on that. But thanks anyway, and I will be back possibly tomorrow.